Paranormal activity occurs on many college campuses around the world. Several colleges in the Philadelphia area have ghostly legends associated with them. At Beaver College, the former residents of the estate seem to still reside there. At Cabrini College, a tragic love story is the basis for the sightings. And at Temple University, it is the school's founder who provides the ghostly tale. At Beaver College in Glenside, several ghosts are rumored to haunt the residents of Hines Hall, Dilworth Hall, and Gray Towers, also known as the Castle. It is from the former residents of the castle that all but one of the Beaver College hauntings developed. Nowadays, the castle is home to offices and dorm rooms for Beaver College staff and residents. 100 years ago, the building of the castle had just been completed. William Welsh Harrison, his wife Bertha, daughter Gertrude, and son William Jr. moved into their new home in 1898. Harrence Trumbauer, the building's architect, patterned this Glenside castle after Onwich Castle in England. The name Gray Towers comes from the castle's numerous towers and the color of the stone. The Harrison family provides the basis for most of the ghost stories associated with Beaver College. Legend has it, the Harrisons were not a happy family. Mr. Harrison was very openly cheating on his younger wife, while some say Mrs. Harrison was not altogether mentally well. Gertrude, the Harrisons' only daughter, secretly married a man of whom her father did not approve. A year later, only a month shy of her 23rd birthday, Gertrude Harrison died. Reports say she died from blood poisoning following an operation. Although she didn't die in Gray Towers, her funeral services did take place in the grand foyer of the castle. 24 years later, William Welsh Harrison would also be laid out in the castle. It is shortly after William's death that Beaver College obtained the enormous Harrison home. Mrs. Harrison and her son sold Gray Towers to Beaver College for the price of $712,500. The year was 1929. Some students who had resided in the castle claim to have seen ghosts roaming the halls and visiting the dorms. Could these ghosts be the spirits of William and Gertrude? Or has Bertha returned to seek the happiness she never obtained during her lifetime? Former castle resident assistant Patty Shea recounts some stories she has heard of ghosts in the castle.
As a resident assistant in the castle, I thought I was pretty prepared when I went to RA camp, but I totally was unprepared for the ghosts and the hauntings here in the castle. In one instance, I had a girl that lived across the hall from me who, on more than one occasion, would come into my room, be completely terrified, crying and screaming because she'd be taking an afternoon nap and she'd suddenly wake up and see a guy sitting in the chair next to her. And she was one of these girls that was completely together. So I knew it wasn't like a fabrication or whatever. She truly was afraid. The biggest thing that happened while I was here was with my friend Ellen. And everyone had been at class, and she had just gotten this beautiful ring from her boyfriend. And she went into the bathroom, took the ring off, put it on the windowsill, put her robe on top of it, and got into the shower, which was right next to the windowsill. No one was around. She finished the shower, got out of the shower, lifted up the robe, and the ring was gone. And she completely freaked out. And she was so upset that she called the maintenance guy and the cleaning woman who was in another part of the building. At that time, I came back and I saw the commotion going on, and I went over and I said, "What's going on here?" And the maintenance man had already had all the marble tiles out, the marble floorboards, everything, a vacuum cleaner, going through all the crevices to see if they could find this beautiful ring. And they had gone through the actions dozens of times, and the cleaning woman said, "Let's just do it one more time." And so they put the robe on the windowsill, they lifted it up, and the ring was right there.
Several rooms of the castle have their own unique story of ghosts visiting. In each room, you may find different specters waiting to make themselves known. Beaver College student Heather Lindsley tells some of the tales.
Being a sophomore at Beaver College and being a part of the Society for Castle Restoration, I've heard a number of stories of hauntings and ghosts and apparitions within the castle itself. One of those stories occurs in what is now the Red Room. The way the story goes is while the Harrison family was living here, many people had been stabbed or shot or killed brutally, and they had tried to cover up the walls by painting it over with white paint, and every time they put a new layer of white paint over it, the red from the blood would seep through. So they just became fed up with the idea of having it seep through every time that they painted the entire room completely in Roman red paint. Another story that I've heard deals with the third-tier stairwell. According to the story, there has been a child, a little girl, who was running down the stairs one day wearing a scarf. She trips down the stairs, falls down, her scarf gets caught on the banister, and she is choked to death. Any time now that a student is running up the stairs, they can supposedly feel her presence and feel her falling body fall right through them. In the castle's mirror room, where we used to hold many dances, if you're dancing and you look in the mirror and see your reflection, you may sometimes also see the reflection of the Harrisons dancing. And if you happen to see the Harrisons dancing, then you are with the person that you're supposed to marry. Another story that I've heard concerns one of the dorm rooms in the castle, and the story goes, one night around 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, one of the girls was up doing her homework while her 5 other roommates were fast asleep in their beds. At the time she was completing her homework, there was a whispering voice calling out her name. Nobody else was awake, so she became really freaked out, and she ran up to her bed, completely covered herself in her blankets, and eventually fell asleep. The next morning, she decided to tell her friends and her roommates, and they, in turn, decided to consult the Ouija board. And according to the Ouija board, there is a male apparition living in the room and likes to sleep with one of the girls in their beds.